Good evening. I call the Thursday, July 25th, 2024, 7 p.m. regular Tallmadge City Council meeting to order. Welcome everyone to council this evening. We will move on to item 2, which is our opening prayer. So tonight we have Father Mike Matuz from Our Lady of Victory Parish in Tallmadge to please lead us off in opening prayer.
Let us pray. God of heaven and earth, we gather this night asking for your guidance, your wisdom, your support as we come together at this time. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion and be purposeful in our conversations and deliberations. Draw us together so we may grow closer as leaders and fellow citizens, and so model for others and nurture among us the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace, Lord God, as we make decisions that will affect old and young, male and female, citizens of every race, culture, and sex. Help us to be mindful that all that our words and our actions have an effect on those who have sent us here, and that all we may accomplish is for the pursuit of what is good and right and just, and intended for your greater glory, in the service of all humankind, within our city and beyond. With every confidence, we ask all of this in your name. Amen.
Amen. All right, next we'll move to the Pledge of Allegiance. Mayor Kilway, you want to lead us off?
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Next up, we'll move to item 3, which is our roll call.
Jonathan Bolwith,
Here.
Adam Bozick,
Mr. Bozick is excused this evening.
Jessica Epstein,
Here.
Mary Gutman,
Here.
Donald Pavlik,
Here.
Ted Roy,
Here.
Nick Rubino,
Here.
All right. We have 6 council members present this evening. Moving on to next item, correcting and adopting the previous meeting minutes from the July 11th, 2024 council meeting. We would need a motion in a second, and then we can move to discussion.
Motion.
I'll second it.
All right. We have a motion and a second to adopt the meeting minutes. Any discussions on the meeting minutes from July 11th? All right. Clerk, please call the roll.
Jessica Epstein,
Yes.
Mary Gutman,
Yes.
Donald Pavlik,
Yes.
Ted Roy,
Yes.
Nick Rubino,
Yes.
Jonathan Bolwith,
Yes. All right. The meeting minutes from July 11th, 2024 are adopted by a vote of 6-0. Next item on the agenda, financial reports. We have none present this evening. Moving to item 6, public hearings. There are also none this evening. Moving on to item 7, community input. This is a point in the meeting where anyone in the audience who would like to speak to council on something that's not on the agenda this evening can come to the podium and state your name and address. Again, just this is for anything not on the agenda. If it's specific to anything on the agenda, when we open committee at that point, you could come to the agenda, come to the podium and speak to committee when they open committee. All right. Moving to item 8, agenda additions. So at this time, I would like to make a change to the agenda this evening and move our Community Issues Committee to this point in the meeting. There is a resolution that council would like to vote on prior to recognizing the Tallmadge Blue Devils wheelchair basketball state champions. At this point, I'd like to ask Mr. Roy to open Community Issues Committee, please.
All right, at this time, I'd like to open up community issues. The Community Issues Committee deals with parks and recreation, civic affairs, and liaison between council and the Recreation Board and intergovernmental affairs. Tonight, we have first reading of ordinance and resolutions. A, Resolution 2024-4, congratulating the Tallmadge Blue Devils wheelchair basketball team and providing for immediate enactment. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Can I have the roll call, please?
Any discussion?
All right, I'll call for the roll call, please.
Mary
Ex-
Devlin,
Yes.
Donald Padlet,
Yes.
Ted Roy,
Yes.
Nick Rubino,
Yes.
Jonathan Bullis,
Yes.
Jessica Epstein,
Yes.
All right, and,
Mr. Bolus?
yes.
Yes, if I could go up and announce something real quick and recognize the wheelchair basketball, that would be great.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be taken after adoption.
It should have been done during discussion, I think, before
Okay.
we voted on it, but
Yep, we were just so excited.
I know you are. I know.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all right. Can everyone hear me? Okay, great. I'm just very, very excited to congratulate the Tallmadge Blue Devils wheelchair basketball team for their 2024 Ohio Interscholastic Wheelchair Basketball State Championship with a 24-16 victory over Austin's Houndfitch Wheelchair Falcons on March the 9th, 2024, at the University of Akron's James A. Road Arena. It was an exciting, exciting game. I was there and witnessed it. It was so much fun. I can hardly wait for next season, but we really want to honor you guys today. I know I presented everybody with certificates from the mayor's office at your banquet, but I do want to make sure that I announce all of the players' names. We have Michael Mamie, number 1. Justin Steele, number 2. Emma Allen, okay. Benjamin James. Iad Yazin. I see you back there. Tashawn Myers, thank you. Serafina Curry. Samantha Blatt. And Shatea Patton. And then our head coach is Monica Curry. Assistant coach Greg Mahalik. Assistant coach Corey Mahalik. And team managers Liam Steele and Landon Allen. Not here, okay. So I really want to congratulate all of you for your success. It's a great honor that you brought to our city, and I'm very, very proud of you. And so thank you to council for adopting this resolution, and we'll make sure that we get copies out to each and every one of you. Yes, and I think we're going to play a little something for you. Go right ahead.
This is the moment we waited for. Everything you want is right here. We gon' give them what they came for. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot 'em a shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stayed down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up, know it's going down. Foot on the gas, ain't no slowing down. Aiming for greatness, no settling. Kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Taking no L's, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Who running the game now? Foot on the gas, can slow down. No, my team, we holding it down. We know we running it now. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change, yeah. I do not gamble, but bet on me. Tell them that's like it, sell out. I'm taking a shot for my enemies. I can't waste no more time on my energy. I know they know I got it on lock. Go against me, that's a long shot. Hands all around the clock, never doubt me. Who do you feel when they make you the monster? I am not scared of none of you imposters. Taking the lead now while they watching. Think you should leave now while the options. Taking no L's, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Who running the game now? Foot on the gas, can slow down. No, my team, we holding it down. We know we running it now. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change, yeah.
So just to say a couple of words, first of all, recognizing we're losing some very good senior players. Our three able-bodied players between Serafina Curry, Sammy Blatt, and Emo's not here, who've been playing with us forever, and they are very good. In fact, Serafina, you saw her get an award there. She was recognized as the best able-bodied player in the state. So that was quite a deal there. I didn't know you were crying until I saw that video. I don't know. So, but we also had Tashawn Myers, who made All-State his first year playing wheelchair basketball. He was never even in a wheelchair before, and he made All-State. We are a group from not just Tallmadge, okay? The way the rules are is you can put up to 3 schools together, just not over 5,500 total enrollment to make sure you have enough handicapped people, special needs people playing. So we are from Tallmadge. Michael is from Woodridge, so Tallmadge is 2,600, Woodridge is 2,000, and then Tashawn is from Steele Academy right down the street, which is about 160 kids. And we were fortunate enough to get him last year. Actually, we got him through Kate Patton Children's Hospital. Called me up and said, "Hey, you got to get this kid. He's really going to be good," and he is going to be good. He's only a freshman, so he's going to be a sophomore. What was so special? First of all, we are the hardest working team in the league. There's no doubt about it. I've been referred to as the Bobby Knight of wheelchair basketball because I yell a lot. But these kids need direction and discipline, and they perform, and they're very good at what they do. We know we can compete again next year for the title. We need to pick up some more players because you can only put 2 able bodies on the court at a time, and they can only score 6 points. Ben James, I think Ben is the best player in the state, able body, coming back. And he's got some friends that are going to try out, but we need more able bodies, and we need more kids with handicaps playing. And that's what we're trying to do. The other thing I want to recognize is Monica Curry. Monica Curry has retired from coaching, so she is done, leaving as a state champion. Congratulations, Monica. And the good news is I'm the head coach now. So myself and Corey, and we do have a new assistant coach. We'll announce him as soon as he's been approved by the school board. But the thing that was special about this win, we had 2 losses going. Now, by the way, we've been state runners-up how many times? 4 times? 3 times? Yeah, we were state runner-up 3 times. We lost in the championship game. The first 3 years the league was around, that's when we had Isaiah Johnson playing for us, and it was tough. But going into this game this year, we had 2 losses. They were both to Austintown, and they were undefeated. And we lost to them by 8 in Austintown, and we lost to them by 6 here in Tallmadge. And we scouted them all through the playoffs. We watched them play, and we said, you know something, nobody expects us to win. We're just going to go out and we're going to play our game. We changed our defenses up. We tried everything on these guys, and by the way, they had a kid on their team who averaged 18 points a game, and he was tough. We held them to how much, Corey? 8 in the championship game. He only had 2 when we played him here in Tallmadge, but we had to put 2 guys on him the whole game. But, so for us to win that game against an undefeated team and gave us our only 2 losses, that was really special for us to do that. And we win with dignity, we lose with dignity, we represent the city well, and the city has backed this program since day one. Last year, we won District of the Year. It's the first time they ever gave it out, and they gave it to us because of the support we get from the city and the schools. We draw more fans than anybody else, and we just always got supported from the past city administration and the current city administration, both in this and Challenger baseball. I'll bring that up too. So we thank you for that, and we're going to keep growing, and we're going to keep playing our hardest. So thank you very much for this award. Okay. We have to do high fives.
I'll get them over here. Congratulations again. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Great job. Thank you. We will.
Congratulations. Congratulations. They were promised ice cream. What? Exactly, yep. Congratulations, Shakaya. There we go. I watched you grow up in church, so. Congratulations. Congratulations.
So
Corey, thank you for everything.
just a reminder, we're still in committee, and we have a motion and a second. So when we're ready, we'll do the roll call, and then we'll move on to the recognition. I think we're, yep.
Mary Duffman,
Yes.
Donald Taglia,
Yes.
Ed Roy,
Yes.
Nick Verdino,
Yes.
Jonathan Bola,
Yes.
Jessica Epstein,
Yes.
Mr. Roy?
So close committee then?
So, yep, Resolution 2024.
Resolution 5-0.
All right,
Is there anything else for community issues tonight? If
6-0.
6-0, I'm sorry. All right, and nothing else, I'll go ahead and close committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. And then next up, we have Ms. Epstein. We ask to please come to the podium for your presentation of appreciation to the owners of Tallmadge Academy of Dance.
All right, thank you. Tonight, I have the privilege of recognizing two remarkable individuals whose dedication and passion have enriched the cultural tapestry of our community. Carol Bader and Morgan Eisenhart, owners of the Tallmadge Academy of Dance, embody the spirit of commitment and excellence that we deeply cherish here in Tallmadge. Carol, a proud alumni of Tallmadge High School, and her daughter Morgan, both seasoned dancers since childhood, took the helm of Tallmadge Academy of Dance in 2016, formerly named the Denise Bryant Studio of Dance, owned and managed by Denise Bryant for over 24 years. Under their leadership, this dance studio has evolved into more than just a place of instruction. It has become a second home and a true dance family for students ranging in age from 18 months to their most seasoned dancer at 84 years old. Beyond their extensive offering of classes in tap, ballet, jazz, hip-hop, acro, contemporary, lyrical, and musical theater, Carol and Morgan have fostered a sense of community through events like My Hero Night, Lock-ins, movie nights, and my personal favorite, Princess Camp. These initiatives not only showcase their commitment to the arts, but demonstrate their dedication to nurturing young talent in a supportive, inclusive environment. What sets the students apart here is not just their love for dance, but their unwavering dedication. It is not commonly recognized or known that their dancers can spend in upwards of 30 hours a week in a studio throughout the entire school year, all while balancing their own studies at middle school or high school and other personal responsibilities. This commitment to love of dance by their students is evidenced by their recent achievements at the Revel National Dance Competition in Orlando, Florida. Competing at this level is no easy feat. To qualify for nationals, TAD requires that they receive an exceptional adjudication, award, or scholarship while competing at a regional competition or convention. 10 10 talented dancers from the Tallmadge Academy of Dance, and they're in the back. So I'm going to ask if you want to stand up so that we can see you when I call your name. Elena, Morgan, Lauren, Emma, Brinley, Bree, Zachariah, Case, Reagan, and Madeline. There she is. They have all qualified and competed in 11 of nearly 2,000 routines, showcasing their skills and bringing honor to our community. Both dancers and staff receive recognition for choreography, special judges awards, and training scholarships. Tonight, it is my honor to present Carol Bader and Morgan Eisenhart with this certificate of appreciation from the City of Tallmadge. Let us celebrate their achievements and the profound impact they have had on hundreds of dancers that have passed through their studio. Please join me in congratulating these two women and their dancers for their outstanding contributions to our community and embodying the very best of Tallmadge. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I have a volunteer for a picture? Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Let's see here. We'll go ahead and give it just a quick minute. All right. Moving on to next item on the agenda is the reports of administrative officers. We'll start off with the Mayor Kilway.
Thank you very much. I want to start off with, many of you know our Summit County Public Health Commissioner, Donna Skoda, announced earlier this year that she'd be retiring and stepping down at the end of the year. So on July 23rd, they did announce that Christopher Barker has been selected to replace Donna Skoda upon her retirement at the end of 2024. The Board of Health voted to appoint Christopher at the Board of Health meeting on July 11th of 2024. He began his career at Summit County Public Health in 2009 as an emergency preparedness planner. He earned his Master's of Public Health degree from Kent State in 2016, and most recently held the position of Director of Preparedness and Compliance for Summit County Public Health. So I just wanted to make you guys aware of that. The new commissioner that will be taking over for Donna Skoda has been announced, so we'll look forward to potentially meeting him before he actually takes office. I'll reach out to their office and make sure that we get him in here to meet everybody. I just wanted to also let council be aware that I did take a trip to Bounce Innovation Hub last week to see what the huge incubator actually does. It is an amazing place. It really does work because we do have a business here in Tallmadge that started off in the incubator at Bounce and quickly grew and outgrew their location there. And that's what an incubator does. It helps people start up, helps them to grow, and then helps them to go off into their own brick and mortar businesses. So I did have an engagement with them last week. It was very informative. In order for us to get one here in Tallmadge, even on a small 1/100th of a scale of what they are, is going to be a lot of work, but I am up for that challenge. We'll keep working towards that. As you can see, McDonald's did close their doors. Demolition should be starting soon, and they'll start the construction for the new McDonald's at the property in front of it. You can see there's fencing up around it right now. We're monitoring the situation and making sure that it stays safe, especially with the Circle Fest coming up in the next couple weeks. We also have the West Avenue Community Engagement Event on July 30th. Again, I would like to invite council to that. It's July 30th at 5:30, and it is at the community center. It's a wider audience of, plus a wider audience of properties within 500 feet of West Avenue. The business community is also invited, and the general public. So if anyone wants to get any information on what this overlay is all about, please make sure you attend that event. I did also participate in the fair opening on July 23rd, so the Summit County Fair is open. Each year, it's growing a little bit more. I know they've had their struggles, but they've really done a lot within the last couple years, and there's a lot of other improvements that are coming along, partnering with the county in order to do some infrastructure improvements. So you'll also see those coming through our city council as well. I'm going to, again, request your support for the strategic plan. I know I had asked for it at second reading so that we could get started on it per the scope of work. We would like to get started by August 5th. And I did have my after hours with the mayor today. Did receive a lot of feedback. We had several people in the community come in, had some nice dialogue, and I have some things to follow up on with that as well. So does anyone have any questions?
I do, Mayor.
Yes.
About the McDonald's project, and simply because I was asked earlier and I wasn't sure of the answer, so I figured this would probably be a good setting. That lot that is currently fenced off that is connected to the circle?
Yes.
Was that a swap that occurred of some kind, or?
No,
Or are they
McDonald's,
just taking the whole property?
they purchased that property years ago.
Did they?
Years ago.
Okay,
Yes, and so they're going to be building the new facility on the empty property, and then with the demolition, that's all part of the whole parcel with stormwater management and all of that. So it'll all get used up probably within McDonald's. If there's anything that's left over that they don't need, then that'll be a discussion that they would want to either sell the property or do something with it, so.
perfect, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, end of report, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Moving up to Director of Administration.
Good evening, everyone. Just a short report tonight. I know I've received some questions about negotiations. Our first Teamster negotiations has been scheduled. Their representative has been engaged in a couple of other events, and so we won't get started with him until the second week in August. So we'll keep you updated, obviously in a different form, as those progress. And just one other thing, we conducted a business retention and expansion engagement with Continental Battery Systems. They're located on Tacoma. Really interesting business. They do wholesale across a wide area, but they also have a retail counter that members of the community have an opportunity to go in and do purchase batteries. So found that interesting. Good engagement, as all of our engagements have been. Good discussion and obtaining their perspectives as we continue to move forward with our economic development plans. Pending your questions, that's all I have this evening.
I do have a question. For the Teamsters negotiation, what services and departments does that involve?
That's Public Service Department, and that will cover street, water, and garage.
Okay.
When does police?
Once we are underway with Teamsters, then we'll go ahead and engage those consecutively, though, not all concurrently. We're waiting to have that first negotiation well underway and have some ideas in certain areas. More than happy to schedule an appointment to talk to each and every one of you offline if you have any questions about that.
Any other questions or comments there? Thank you for your report.
Thank you, sir.
All right, moving on to Director of Public Service.
Good evening. Just the paving program's underway still. Hopefully next week we start getting to the point where we can start wrapping that up. If the weather would cooperate, we'd probably be farther along. Those rain showers every afternoon is throwing us off. And then just keep in mind, August 10th is Circle Fest, so that's right around the corner. And that's it for my report, unless there's any questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Next up, Director of Finance.
Thank you. All council members should have received an email from the auditor's office that our annual audit has been released for public information. Our annual financial report and then the community report have both been posted on the city's website for public viewing. So if you want to take a look at those, they're on the city's website. If anybody needs them emailed or anything, I can do that also. And then we'll start the course next week of advertising through Facebook, through the rec newsletter and different channels that those are available to the public to view online. And if anybody has any questions, I'll answer them.
All right, any questions? All right, thank you very much. Our Director of Law is absent this evening, but we do have our Assistant Law Director. Any questions or report from our Law Director this evening?
We have nothing to report this evening.
All right. Seeing none, thank you all for your reports of administrative officers. Moving on to reports of standing committees of council as a whole. We'll go ahead and start with our Planning and Zoning Committee with Ms. Mary Gutman.
Thank you, Mr. Bolus. I will call Planning and Zoning to order. We have before us at third reading tonight amended ordinance 2024-48 with the Planning and Zoning recommend approval 4-0, approving and granting a conditional zoning certificate to applicant Ellen Selly of Sheets, Inc. on behalf of owners Burton Thompson Jr., Kevin Thompson, Barbara A. Thompson, Joan M. Thompson, and Rojo Real Estate LLC for an automotive filling station located at 592 South Monroe Road, parcel number 6009938, South Monroe Road, parcel number 6005077, 855 through 857 Southeast Avenue, parcel number 6004494, and 538 Southeast, parcel number 6009979. Okay, so just to go over how things will handle things tonight. I'll let, first of all, I know we have the representatives from Sheets here, and I believe their traffic engineer in attendance, or no?
No.
Okay.
But they did send that.
Okay, good. Thank you then. So we will cover any questions, and then I'll have anyone from the audience who wishes to speak. Then we'll have council go through the review standards, which I'll talk about in a moment, and then we will do our vote. So I just wanted to review for anyone who wasn't at the last meeting or didn't watch it online, what council's role is in this and what our vote is for. The property in question, what we're doing, every use is permitted except for the except for the filling station, I should say, which is conditionally permitted. So this means that we're not voting on a zoning change or amending the zoning. We are looking at we're providing more scrutiny and permitting its use conditionally, per se. So Planning and Zoning already had a public hearing and listed out these conditions, which we have added by amendment. Those are in section 2 of the ordinance. There's a whole list of them. And we can ask questions on them if there's anything in particular. But I just wanted to make that clear that the filling station is already conditionally permitted. We're not making an amendment to the zoning code for that regards. This is a commercial property. So I also wanted to clarify one more time that this is not a city project, as I've gotten feedback multiple times from people who are a little bit confused about that. The title of the ordinance, these are a private property owner and a company, it's not a city project, so this isn't something that the city is doing. We're just providing the oversight that is required by our ordinances. Okay. So I, once again, would like to ask about traffic. So perhaps Mrs. Sally, if you would come to the podium. And just one more time for the record, state your name and address. Thank you.
Ellen Selly with Sheets, 351 Sheets Way, that's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. So, there was a lot of questions last time on traffic, and we talked through several things, but I think hearing the residents afterwards, there's a lot of questions on that 25%. And that's not 25% new traffic generated by Sheets. We wanted to make that very clear. That was just how you calculate the split when you're doing calculations in the traffic study. It was 75% is pass-by traffic of the Sheets, total numbers of Sheets, not the total numbers on the roadway. So of the Sheets traffic that we're counting, 75% of that is pass-by, 25% of Sheets is new traffic, is how we calculate it. But numbers related to your intersection and your roadways aren't those same percentages. So we provided a memo from the traffic engineer, and I can just kind of read off what some of that said. And so we take some things with the traffic study that we look at. We look at AM and PM peak hours. So in the AM peak hour, in just 1 hour, there will be, Sheets will bring 23 new vehicles to the area going through the intersection. That is a 3% increase in the AM. In the PM, it is, that was 23 new entering and 23 new exiting in the AM. And then in the PM, it is 21 new entering and 20 new vehicles exiting. So again, an increase of just 2%. So it is not a 25% increase of traffic. We're talking, in the peak hour, less than 25 new cars through that intersection. And hopefully that helps people see a little bit better that it's not significant. It is a slight increase, but it's not 25% new traffic coming to that intersection. I think that was the biggest question we had. Was there something else you wanted me to answer or touch on?
That was definitely the biggest concern that we've heard is that number, and it's unfortunate that it took us this long to address it properly, but I appreciate those numbers. Mrs. Burton, are you able to pull up the traffic study report? There's a table that I just wanted to, if you scroll down to table 2, it has the wait times to go through the intersection. It's the first table you get to. It's pretty colorful.
The colorful, yellow,
Yeah,
red.
it's very colorful.
That's the level of service one, is that it?
I don't remember the title. Yeah, yes. Just keep going a little further. You'll see.
No build versus build.
There you go.
traffic condition.
Yes. So you can see that the red or the F-rated areas. And so this is why people are concerned. And I want to just say that I appreciate that there are obviously unacceptable traffic conditions there. But what I wanted to highlight, and maybe you can speak to it in case I don't say this correctly, it looks like when you compare the before and after, and this is a 10-year difference, like now versus up to 2034 into the future, there isn't a significant change versus building versus not building. Is that correct?
That's
What we're
correct.
seeing?
Can I
Yeah.
come up here?
We have the, 1 second.
We have a mic.
Got a mic?
Yes.
It just might be easier to point here.
Before you start, can we zoom in a little bit? I think some audience members could see a little better if we zoom.
And so this first half is the no-build condition. So no-build means existing condition. And this is just looking at this main intersection. It's not looking at the movements in front of Sheets. It's looking at your intersection, the
Right now.
public intersection right now. And so that's these first few columns. And it goes through, and the traffic study gives it a rating. So like A is the best, F is pretty much failing, but still usable, obviously still usable. And there's a range that goes with each one. I don't know what the range is. It probably listed somewhere here, but it's in a manual somewhere. But D range, F, E, Fs, that's what you see existing. And then yes, if you go to our build condition, which includes, our 2% increase, 3% increase at your intersection, it's a very minor change. Still D. So you have to look at if this is the AM peak hour existing, and then this is the AM peak hour build condition with the Sheets. D to D, D to D, F to F. It's the same. It doesn't impact it that much. But if you go down to the actual numbers, the wait time, that's how long you're sitting there waiting at the red light. Those numbers do increase slightly. So from a 41.8 to a 43-second wait. You're not going to feel that 1 point whatever, But does that help explain this then a little bit too?
Yes.
And so then the very last line is the total intersection delay. It, averages out everything, and same thing. It's still F to F. It's still the same.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And now, while we have Ms. Sally at the podium, is there anyone else that has traffic or engineering type specific questions for her?
Yes.
I also wanted
Go ahead.
to ask, so looking at the pre-build or no-build condition to the build condition, the increase in traffic includes the new customers that might be coming, which in peak hours would be anywhere 21 to 23 or 3%. And then it also, in the page above, talks about calculating in anticipated increased traffic just over the course of 10 years.
Yeah.
And that was 0.55%. Is that 0.555 or 50? I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But it was less than 1. Is that included in there as well, in addition to,
Yes, in addition.
so that any extension of time includes growth over that 10 years plus the build versus no build
Correct.
scenario? Okay, thank you.
Anyone?
Yeah, so one of the recommendations in the traffic analysis was the southeastbound left turn lane was warranted. And I believe, if I remember correctly, Mayor, when we talked about this, the city engineers were looking at the feasibility or how that's built out. Has that been done and completed?
That is still being worked on between Sheets and the city, yes.
Yep, our traffic engineers have been talking to the city about that, the widths of the lanes, but regardless, we have to put in that left turn lane. So it's a 100-foot left turn lane into our site, but how that's gonna look, if it's 11-foot, if it's a 12-foot lane, that has to be worked out still. The design has not been done, but the requirement is there.
And that's a huge benefit that the city will receive, having Sheets foot the bill for that turn lane.
Correct. But nothing's been decided yet. So wouldn't that need to be decided first before?
No, that'll be in the final documents.
It's part of our permitting
Yeah.
that we have
Okay.
to go through, so we can't construct anything in your roadway without city approval and city permits. So the first step is get the traffic study approved, get these approvals through city council, and then we design our construction documents, and then the city has to approve them.
So
Right.
hypothetically speaking, if that turn lane can't be done, right, I'm not saying it can or can't be, then the project can't happen, right? I mean, in layman's terms, right? I mean, then, because,
We have to have an approved traffic study, and
Yeah.
whatever the approved traffic study says, we have to do. So I think is the way that, are our conditions, Diane, do they have approvals from the city written in there?
I believe so. So all of these things, so construction drawings, for example, which would include the roadway construction, will go through your approval process and review by your traffic engineer, your engineer, whether there's, the building will actually be reviewed by your building department and your plans examiners. All of that will happen after these approvals. And then that's when, if all of those things are approved, that's when permits are issued.
okay.
Right. So this
So
is
if those
like-
aren't approved, then permits can't
permits-
be issued until that's approved.
Right, this
Correct,
is just a site plan.
Correct. So we go to
permit.
the next step of the engineering of the construction drawings.
Right.
After all of these things are approved. The process is very long and detailed. But I think that answers your question. But I just want to make sure it does.
Yeah, it does, okay, yes. So in the event that it doesn't get approved, you technically, the project could be dormant, right? Or you can come back and ask for some sort of variance
I would
to
agree
that.
with that, right. If there's
Okay,
something else
that's
that
what I wanna
comes
make
up,
sure.
if there's something else that comes up that varies, so say we get into more details, and something comes up that maybe the building has to be, and I'm doing, this is off the cuff
Yeah,
hypothetical.
yeah,
Building has to be moved.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, there's a
Yeah.
utility that somebody didn't know was there.
Yeah.
Or maybe a utility has to go in somewhere because the roadway needs to be 12 feet instead of 11 feet. In that instance, if, say, you don't meet the setback for the building, then we come back.
okay. So Melanie, then that would go to planning and zoning first, and then come to council?
If there's any variances?
It would
Yeah.
depend on the type of variance, but it would go somewhere else before it came to you, yes.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
And I didn't get to state my name, just for the
Oh,
record.
sorry,
It's
yes.
Diane Calta. I'm with Land Development Council with Mansur Gavin, and I represent Sheets. I did have one thing from the last meeting that I didn't answer, so we're
Okay.
ready to answer all your questions, but I do want to jump
Okay,
in with
I
one
got
thing I
one.
didn't
So
answer.
this traffic study that was done, is that done in conjunction with having that turn lane in there?
Yes.
It's- okay, all
If you
right,
keep
okay.
scrolling down,
Y-
it
yeah.
gives the recommendations, like you mentioned.
Yeah, I
and
saw
that- and
I
that's
saw
in
the
there.
recommendation, yes.
And there's probably a diagram in here too, that shows that left turn lane, but it's 100 foot. It's gonna be in our construction documents, that left turn
Okay.
lane.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there further council questions? Okay, I'm sorry, then said you would like to address?
There was a
something from
question
city-
last time, and I apologize, I wasn't able to answer it. Wages at the location, what sort of wages would be paid? And they do vary depending on the positions and depending on the times that you're scheduled for. Ellen and Owen were very clear that a lot of times you can go into Sheets and they're always hiring, and they have 1885 is plastered. But I did do a little Googling just to see what was out there. And you can do the same thing. So depending on the positions, you have supervisors in the 1850 range. You have maintenance around 1650. You have a first, team member at 1550. There's also positions for people that actually, are the truck drivers that are traveling with the fuel. Those are up in the $35, $36 an hour. So it does vary, but that, just to give you an idea of where those wages are.
Okay, thank you very much. We thank both of you. Okay. If there are no further questions from council, are there any comments from the administration? Anything that anyone would like to add before I open it up to the public? Okay. Then is there anyone in the audience who would like to make any comments? If you would approach the podium and say your name and address this time.
Evening, Justin J. Summers Sr. I live at 767 Southeast Avenue, also in 759 and 757, which just means I pay a lot of taxes. Couple questions, couple concerns, just some things I wanted to point out. One is the Duke. Obviously, the Duke's right across the street. Clearly, Duke's going to go out of business. So my question is for you guys, have you thought about anything that could go in there? Have you thought about the next steps? So once that does go out of business, what's going to happen with that property? Is it just going to sit? Have you guys, maybe thought about bringing something else in to take that property? Next one was the turn lane. Obviously, I live 4 houses and 1 business down from where Sheetz would be. I look out my window pretty often, or outside working, doing whatever. Today, there was traffic past my house, over the hill where I couldn't see it, going towards the circle from 17:15 to 17:30, which wasn't that much time. But I have been in traffic a number of times where people will cut in the ongoing lane to get to that turn lane. I've seen it many times. I've seen people racing down the road a few times. But I understand it's going to be about 100 feet, so it'll end at Sheetz property, I guess. I guess my question is that really long enough to move some of those cars into that middle lane? That was a question I had, was how far that middle lane, that turn lane would actually go back towards the circle. Sidewalks. I did my own study because, again, I sit at home and watch people go up and down the road quite a bit. At least 6 to 12 people a day easily walk up and down Southeast Avenue. Kids go up and down Southeast Avenue. Sheetz is going to bring a lot of kids. Let's be honest, there's going to be lots of car meetups, motorcycle meetups, whatever. Kids are going to go there a lot. Mayor, I know you ran on a platform, hey, I'm putting sidewalks in. If ever there was a time that we need sidewalks in Southeast, Sheetz going in would be it. There's kids every single day riding bikes up and down the road. Just a couple years ago, we had a guy get run over and killed on Southeast Avenue. There's going to be a lot more foot and wheel traffic and runners up and down Southeast. I know Sheetz is going to put it on their property, and then I think the next business has sidewalks as well, but then it ends. There's no sidewalks on Southeast until you hit the businesses next to the circle. Then the other one I saw on the Facebook, whatever it is, people were concerned about animals getting killed, run over. I bury at least 4 deer a year that get hit in front of my house. I've addressed council about this in the past, but I'd love to see some sort of a culling system here in Tallmadge. I know there's other cities that are more populated with less actual square mileage that do cull their deer. I know at one time Tallmadge used to be agricultural, but it's not anymore. We have very little bit of agriculture. And even back then, you didn't see deer that often. I love deer, it's great, but seeing the same deer every single day, deer are always getting hit. I know people here in Tallmadge that have, hurt deer that are fenced in. They try and take care of them. But the deer, they bring disease. They eat all your plants. If you ever seen any of the little gardens around here, they look like fortresses. It looks like a penitentiary because you have to put the fences 12 feet high so they don't jump over them and eat all your stuff. So I would love to see a study, love to see us look at other cities that have done this successfully, that are very close to us, that do have programs to take deer. That way we're not running them over, going to Sheetz. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Summers. I appreciate that feedback. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Thank you. If you'll just state your name and address for the record.
Gene Centaur, 487 Southeast Avenue. I just want to echo one point that my fellow community member said is sidewalks. I notice my neighbors' kids walking up and down the street. I notice folks walking up and down the streets to work, to school, to what have you. I definitely agree with the point of sidewalks, and then to the point of the deer calling. I would like to see a study on that as well, because I know last year, my wife and I tried to start a vegetable garden, and well, any produce we had, the deers ate. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, thank you, Mr. Burton.
Hello, my name's Bert Thompson. I own Gary's Tallmadge mower and the properties in question, a number of them. And I said it before, and it's very tough for the family, the Thompsons, to sell these properties off. Very tough. Since my mom graduated from Tallmadge Class 41, my family has owned properties, I don't know, maybe 9 properties in Tallmadge, my father, myself. On behalf of the Thompson family, I just wanted to thank everybody again in council, mayors, the police chiefs, the fire chiefs, council, the citizens have been our customers all of those years. And I do believe this would be in the best interest of Tallmadge and our family too. I thought long and hard about this, to sell to the Sheets Company, which is another family-owned business. And I just want to thank all of you again for all your time and everything, and the citizens of Tallmadge and our neighboring community being our customers. And on behalf of B.R. Thompson, my father, my mother, Helen Thompson, Bert Thompson Jr., Barbara Thompson, my wife, and all of our children and the rest of our family, I just want to thank you all again, because most of you are my customers too. But sorry for closing up, but 74 years old, it's time. But thanks again for the city of Tallmadge and all the citizens and everybody. I appreciate it very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson, and we do appreciate your contributions to the community as well.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rose Custer. I live at 218 Dunbar Road. When my husband and I first moved here in 1976, we moved here because we thought it was a nice little town close to a big city. Since then, it has been growing way too fast. We're thinking about moving out because it's getting too big. It's getting too congested. It's just, tiresome to go by the circle and see all these cars. And now there's going to be a Sheetz gas station. Every Sheetz gas station I have seen there's a lot of land around it. Now, at the circle, at Six Corners, there's not going to be a lot of land around it. There's going to be a gas station next door, across the street. There's going to be all these other businesses real close together. So I'm definitely against it, but, I don't know who else is. But that's why I came to this meeting when I heard about it. And also, there's a Sheetz gas station going in on 43 in Brimfield. How many Sheetz gas stations do we really need? There's Sheetz gas stations all over the place. So I don't know. That's my thought. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your input. And is there anyone further? Okay. Well, thank you all for being here and taking the time to share your thoughts with us. We do appreciate it. And I also thank everyone who has sent emails. It's helpful to get that feedback. Okay. So what I'd like to do is frequently our process when we have zoning before us is go through the review standards that we use when we consider these ordinances. The review standards are, just to clarify, we don't all have to agree on them, and they are to consider when we make our final vote. So what I'd like to do is I will just read each standard and give each council member a chance to share their input if they would like on the standard, and if you don't have anything to add on it, you can just say so, that's okay. So there are, just so you know how many, we have 7 standards in front of us. Number 1 is the proposed use shall be in harmony with the existing or intended character of the zone or district and nearby affected zones and districts, and shall not change the essential character of the zones and districts. So I'll start, and then we'll just work with Jessica down. My thoughts on this, well, I understand that it is commercially zoned and perhaps underused commercially at this point, so it feels like a big change to some of the residents that are in the area. I do appreciate that feedback that we're getting. It is also next to a filling station, so my view is that it's a commercial area at a busy intersection next to a filling station. It's hard to argue that that's not in harmony. But I'd like to say that I appreciate those of you who have said that you don't think it is. Mrs. Epstein, would you like to comment?
Sure, I agree. It is C3 zoning classification, and this use is permitted there. There's also the Duke Fueling Station across the street. I believe we received information that that was maybe 1972 that gas station has been there. There are proposed waivers for the street trees and the foundation planning. That's condition 1C and 1D, which I did review, but my understanding is that there will be planter boxes in place. So as long as there's some greenery there to maintain, I think that continues with the harmony there in the landscaping.
Thank you. Mr. Roy?
No, I think as council, with it being C3, gives them the right to put a business in there. And I just think, something that it's not always going to get 100% of the people are going to want something. And you're going to have two sides to everything. And that's what makes our job tough, and we have to make these tough decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rubino?
Yeah, I think the area, as you guys said before, has a gas station. It is currently zoned appropriately, minus some minor adjustments. I think that the investment in the community would be worth it.
Thank you. Mr. Pavlik?
I agree with everything that's been said. Unfortunately, every gas station in this city is Zone C3 as it sits right now, which makes it hard to deny this request. I think at one point on that corner, there were up to 3 gas stations at one point on that corner. So you got to take that into consideration. When we were a smaller town, there were 3 gas stations there. So I can't, as much as I hear the disdain from the people who spoke, and I know that there's others out there, unfortunately, this is a conditional use. It's not changing the zoning. Therefore, they afford that right to be heard.
Thank you. Mr. Bolus?
The only item I might add is just I'd like to see our continued focus on economic development discussions around that area, like the comment the gentleman spoke of regarding the concern for Dukes in the surrounding area, and just, obviously trying to ensure that business, all the businesses thrive in that area that are zoned in that capacity, and whatever we can do as a part of a committee as a whole, especially during budget season, to understand what we could do to improve things like sidewalks and infrastructure to help mitigate the concerns of the community.
Thank you. Okay, our second standard is the proposed use shall not adversely affect the use of adjacent property. Given that there is a gas station in close proximity currently, I feel that there isn't an adverse effect. I also appreciate the measures that have been taken with the landscaping plan and the conditions put in place that, for example, the decibel level at the property line was considered so that there won't be a noise disruption. They've also put into place requirements that deliveries and dumpster emptying happen during daytime hours so that the property owners won't be disturbed by loud noises like, 3 or 4 in the morning. So I do feel like those conditions that have been put in place are appropriate so that there's no adverse effect or minimal adverse effect. And I will say that for the most adjacent property, I have not heard negative feedback that would cause me to feel differently about this condition or this standard. Ms. Epstein?
Yes, I think in reviewing some of the conditions that are put in place, stormwater has been reviewed, lighting plan such as photometrics, that's all been looked at by the city engineer. The audible device is not to exceed 55 dBA at the property line. My other thought is the surrounding area, there's a fire station across the street, a light and noise disturbance from a fire truck or an ambulance leaving is going to be louder than a potential song being played at the gas pump. So it's not going to increase any disruption. And those alarms could go off at any time at night. So we do have those conditions so that the sound is within reasonable hours. So I would think that I don't have any objections to this one.
Thank you. Mr. Roy?
I don't really have nothing on this one.
Thank you. Mr. Rubino?
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you. Mr. Pavlik?
Same.
And Mr. Bolus?
Nothing further to add on this one.
Thank you. Okay, number 3, the proposed use shall not adversely affect the health, safety, morals, or welfare of persons residing or working in the neighborhood. I think that the conditions put in place addressing things we've talked about as far as like the welfare are adequate. And I'd also like to state that I was encouraged to learn about sheets of security measures that exceed some of other filling stations as far as having cameras, and that those have two-way speakers through them, so there's an additional measure of security. And I'm actually, having done shift work in the past and driven home at 1 a.m, having a safe filling station to come to at night on my way home is actually, I believe, an increase in the health and safety of our residents. So I'm in favor of this. Ms. Epstein?
I just realized I didn't mute my mic, so I apologize if there was feedback from my papers shuffling. I know these mics are loud, but I was just confirming in the staff report that we do have responses from the police department and the fire department. The fire marshal and Chief Bohan has reviewed this. I think as long as the fire department can operate and not be disrupted by this addition, then there's no concern for safety here, health and safety.
Thank you, Mr. Roy.
The only thing I really want to add is, I think the sidewalk thing is probably a good idea. Now, it's a long road, which would be a lot of tax dollars, but we appreciate you people coming and giving us that feedback, because we need that kind of stuff, so maybe we can take a look, maybe we go a quarter of a mile. Anything we could maybe add is going to help that situation, that's for sure. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Roy. That might be fruitful for looking for grant money at future too. Mr. Rubino.
Yeah, I would agree with Councilman Roy that while I don't think a sidewalk necessarily needs to go all the way down to the circle or all the way to the highway, I think a certain portion of sidewalk going to a location like that would probably increase safety and be beneficial To Ms. Gutman's point, I don't think we have any 24-hour gas stations in that immediate vicinity. I know I was going to work at a very early time in the morning recently, went into Brimfield and could not find an open gas station, and I was running on fumes and had to get off out in Akron just to get gas. So I think that that all will benefit the city.
Thank you, Mr. Pavlik.
In my eyes of the seven, and I studied the seven, this is probably, could be considered the weakest one of the seven, but because of the whole, I look at it from a different point of view. It's an underground storage tank, so you got potential environmental issues. But since there's already a filling station there, you set the precedent.
Thank you, Mr. Bolus.
Nothing more to add.
Thank you. Okay, number 4, the proposed use shall be served adequately by public facilities and services such as but not limited to roads, police and fire protection, stormwater facilities, water, sanitary sewer, and schools. I will just say that our public services, police and fire all do give input into the zoning report and have their chance to add input and their own conditions and thoughts, and we don't have any negative feedback from them on these things. Ms. Epstein?
Sheets is not requiring any additional public facilities or services, so I have no additional comment.
Thank you, Mr. Roy.
I have nothing.
Mr. Rubino.
No additional comments.
Mr. Pavlik.
Nothing to add.
And Mr. Bolus.
No additional comments.
Thank you. And number 5, the proposed use shall not impose a traffic impact upon the public right-of-way significantly different from that anticipated from permitted uses of the zone or district. So I've obviously considered this one pretty extensively, given the current traffic situation at that intersection. And I have several thoughts. One is that it does, from reading that traffic study, that there are possibly things we can address or, should look at addressing, because any commercial operation that goes into this land has the potential of increasing traffic. And what we learned tonight is that the sheets doesn't seem that it will significantly increase the traffic, but it's problematic there. That's a separate issue that I think we have a responsibility to consider. If we want more it's a commercial intersection. We want it to be safe. We want it to be active. We want to attract businesses there. But I am glad to hear the information that it's not going to significantly bring more cars into that intersection. So that was welcome news tonight. Ms. Epstein?
I would agree. I think, misinterpret the initial numbers, that it was a 25% increase to the overall intersection. I think with your clarification, that was 25% of your customer base. And looking at 2 to 3% overall increase in traffic is not a significant number, in my opinion, and it does say upon the public right-of-way, significantly different. There are some areas, like Ms. Gutman said, that were already rated F or predicted to be rated F. I think maybe a total of 4 directions, and those did not change significantly either. So I would have no objections on number 5.
Thank you. Mr. Roy?
Nope, I think that chart pretty much showed everything that we needed to know. 2% is not that much, so.
Thank you. Mr. Rubino?
I think it's fantastic that Sheets is working with the city by adding that turning lane, which I think will help ease some of those issues. I have no issues.
Thank you. Mr. Pavlik?
I second to what Mr. Rubin said about the turn lane. I think it's imperative to make sure that that is constructed correctly.
Agreed. Thank you. Mr. Bolus?
Only thing further to add is I think long-term, we need to try to do anything we can to apply for grant money to look at a future circle at that location long-term. And I understand that with that being a state route, might be lower on the application pile, but it's still worth pursuing because I think that would also help alleviate, a lot of these concerns as well as just position that intersection for success in the future.
Thank you. And standard number 6, the proposed use shall be in accord with the general and specific objectives and the purpose and intent of the zoning code, compatible with the guiding plan documents and ordinances of the city. The only thing I wanted to say here is that one of the comments we heard at our, I'm actually not sure if it was our last meeting or at planning and zoning, was that there were quite a few variances. And I just wanted to let people know that with most big projects that happen in the city, there are variances. It's very normal. Sometimes there's many, many variances because every piece of land is different and every developer, every business has different, requirements. And we want to work with our property owners and business owners the best we can while still keeping the standards of our code. So seeing the variances in our amendment and in the recommendation isn't unusual. I just want people to know that this is not something that's never happened before in that regard. And that said, I think that the variances that have been made are reasonable. Having sat through the planning and zoning public hearing and heard that presentation where they went through them, I think they all make sense and they won't have a significant impact on the acceptability of the project. Thank you. Ms. Epstein.
Thank you. There is a note that I wanted to highlight because I thought that it was applicable here, but the comprehensive plan, this is not a focus area in that plan for the city, but the overarching themes is to maximize efforts to maintain the competitiveness of existing buildings or facilitating redevelopment, and the redevelopment of this commercially zoned district will elevate the development in this area and bring non-conforming property into conforming property. So I would agree with those statements and have no objection.
Thank you. Mr. Roy.
I have nothing on that one.
Thank you. And Mr. Rubino.
No objections.
Thank you. Mr. Pavlik
I have nothing to add.
and Mr. Bolus.
No further comment. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final standard, the proposed use shall be found to meet the definition and intent of a use specifically listed as a conditional use in the zone or district in which the subject property is situated, and I think it does. Ms. Epstein.
Agree.
Mr. Roy.
I agree.
Mr. Rubino.
Agreed.
Mr. Pavlik.
I have nothing further to add.
Thank you. And Mr.
I
Bullock.
agree.
Thank you. Okay, and so those are review standards. I hope that is helpful for our audience to understand what we consider when we vote. And with that, I would ask for a motion to approve this ordinance 2024-48.
Motion.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Donald Pavlik,
Yes.
Ted Roy,
Yes.
Nick Rubino,
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus,
Yes.
Jessica Epstein,
Yes.
Mary Duffman,
Yes. Thank you. Ordinance 2024-48 amended has passed 6-0. And that is all we had before planning and zoning this evening. Is there anything further for the committee?
Mrs. Gutman?
Yes.
I just want to
Mayor.
thank you very much for the detail that you gave us during your analysis of this ordinance. I commend you for all of the work that you've done on this. You did an excellent job. Thank you very much. I think this is a great project for Tallmadge. There's a lot of feedback that has come from our residents that is being taken into consideration. Some of the items we've already started on, but I want to thank you very much for your leadership in this. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I appreciate that there are residents who are unhappy with the result of our vote, and I do hope that we can address some of their concerns as the project progresses, that we'll be able to, show through action that this will be a positive for this area of the city and Tallmadge as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you.
And, yes.
If I may, I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of Sheets also. This has been a very detailed, involved, and very well-run process, and we appreciate that. And if there are questions that come up, you have our contact information, so please reach out.
Thank you very much. And with that, I will close planning and zoning.
Thank you. All right, moving on with our agenda, we'll move on to Mr. Pavlik with the Finance Committee.
All right, thank you. The Finance Committee deals with budget appropriations, reappropriations, bonds, franchises, investments, and expenditures. We currently have two ordinances to read, one in first reading, one in second. First reading of ordinance 2024-53, Exhibit A, expressing the intent to sell unneeded, obsolete, or unfit vehicles and equipment and providing for immediate enactment. The sponsor of this ordinance is Director of Public Service, Mr. Rohr. This motion has been read into record. Mr. Rohr, do you have any further comments on this?
No, as you can see from the list, there's not a lot of real value there. Some of the stuff's pretty old, and there's not a lot to do, but we'll do it through gov deals. So, if there's any other questions.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anything to add from council? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Clerk, will you please call the roll? Oh, is there any discussion? Ms. Clerk, please call the roll.
Seth Roy,
Yes.
Nick Rubino,
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus,
Yes.
Jessica Epstein,
Yes.
Mary Gutman,
Yes.
Donald Sadler,
Yes. Okay, with that, ordinance 2024-53, Exhibit A, passes with a motion of 6-0.
Thank you.
Welcome. Next up, in second reading, ordinance 2024-50, appropriating funds for Round River Consulting LLC and providing for immediate enactment. Sponsor of this ordinance is Mayor Kilway. Mayor Kilway, is there anything you wish to add further on this?
I just want to state again that I think this is a good plan for the city to do in order to move our city forward. It will gather input from council, from the community, from our businesses, and we'll be able to guide our city through the next 5 to 10 years based on this strategic planning. It is something that is not done very typically in municipalities in Northeast Ohio. It is done throughout the country, though, and I really want to get started on this so that we don't fall farther behind. So I would appreciate approval of the $35,000 for Round River Consulting. And if you have any other questions, just please let me know. I know we've had a lot of discussion on it.
I just got one. This is like a one-time deal, correct? It's
Yes.
not like you're going to come back in January and say, okay, we want to get them to do more stuff.
No,
This is like a one-time.
This is a one-time deal, yes. That's for their consulting services to get the strategic plan in place, to gather the information, to formulate the ideas, and it's an outside company, makes it more credible instead of, just doing it ourselves.
Thank you.
Ms. Kilway, how many, I know we talked previously before, but I think we talked about the final two, but how many did this go out to in terms of RFP?
It went out to several. Yeah,
Okay.
and it was narrowed down to the last two that we discussed.
Okay. Several as in 4, 5, 6?
I believe we had names of like 5 or 6.
Okay, all right. And in this study, or the, not study, the consulting firm, there's going to be a strategic team put in place.
Yes.
How is that going to be picked and derived?
Well, that is picked, you have the plan in front of you.
Yeah.
That will be picked, combination between input from council, input from the administration, input from the consulting firm.
Okay.
So,
Okay,
the community.
thank you. Is there any further questions?
No, just wanted to thank the mayor for taking the time last week to just walk through this. And then just for council's awareness, like one item too that we hit on was around the payment schedule and then the deliverable schedule on the statement of work. And in walking through like the final deliverable, I had asked, what entails in terms of that sign off, in terms of like what checks and balances are in place. And she had further explained, like they're within that payment schedule as well as the review of the final deliverable. There is, I don't want to misstate, I want to say there's room in the schedule for revisions, if it's deemed.
For edits and-
Yeah, for edits, if it's deemed not acceptable, for final sign off.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Any further questions? Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Ms. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Renee Burbino,
Yes.
Jonathan Bolus,
Yes.
Jessica Epstein,
Yes.
Mary Gutman,
Yes.
Donald Pavlik,
Yes.
Ted Roy.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Welcome. With that, motion is adopted, 6-0. With that, there's nothing else unless anybody from council administration needs to bring anything before finance?
I had one question.
Yes.
Regarding the remaining 400,000 of ARPA funds, can you remind me, please, of the time, like the deadline for us to propose projects and,
So you just approved at the last meeting?
Yeah.
The MACA bathrooms?
Yes.
Which should eat up the remainder of the ARPA funding.
Okay, so just to
Because the funds have to be committed by December 31st,
Yes.
2024. We have until December 31st, 2026 to liquidate that, but they have to be under contract and committed by the end of this year. So last council meeting,
Yes.
you guys approved the MACA bathrooms. We're gonna put those out to bid, see what that comes back as, and then look at if we have funds left from the bid, how much of a contingency we want to hold over, but we're working through making those kind of final determinations. But it is expected, in my hope, that this final project will be able to expend the remainder of the funds and have all the projects shored up.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bolus. Is there anything else? Hearing none, I will close finance. Thank you.
All right, moving on to Personnel Committee, I'll open up Personnel Committee this evening. We have no ordinance or legislation before us. Is there anything that council or administration would like to contribute to Personnel Committee this evening? All right, and thank you for Director of Administration update on all the various negotiations that are forthcoming. With that, I'll close Personnel Committee. And next up is moving on to Mr. Rubino and Safety.
Thank you. I call Safety Committee to order. The Safety Committee deals with disaster services, communications, fire, and paramedics, police, and health. We currently have no items in front of us today. Does anybody have anything they need to talk about or discuss?
I had one question.
Sure.
Regarding the project right on the Tallmadge-Brimfield border, the facility, I don't know if it was assisted living or senior living facility that's going in, is there any progress updates on that? Because we had discussed the potential for that to increase our run rates for our fire and police potentially. So is there any updates on that project? I know it's still, still in process, but is there any update on that development?
I do not have an update. I played phone tag with Mike Ladd and Jendi out in Brimfield about 3 times today, trying to get an update on that and a couple other things as well. But I will get that information for you as soon as I can, okay?
Okay, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Is there any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, I close committee.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rubino. Next up, we'll move to public service with Ms. Epstein.
Thank you. I call the Public Service Committee to order. The Public Service Committee deals with streets, highways, sidewalks, buildings and improvements, water, sewer, electricity, gas, energy resources, recycling waste, and trash. This evening, we have at second reading Resolution 2024-3, a resolution expressing support for the expansion of Amtrak service in the Akron-Canton region. Are there any questions from last meeting that weren't answered yet? I know I have a lot of information that I provided you all on this, and we have been focusing a lot on sheets and making sure we did our due diligence. So if you have not read it, I'm more than happy to take this to third reading.
One, I just wanted to thank you for providing the information on this resolution, and then I was going to humbly request one more reading so that hopefully we can all be in attendance and discuss it as committee as a whole, if that's acceptable.
Sure. Are there any questions that I can take at this time about it?
Any questions?
All right, hearing none. Sorry? Oh, yes.
Hello again. Just want to make one quick comment about just because this is just for consideration to basically tell the state, hey, we'd like consideration for an Amtrak to come through the Canton, Akron, Cleveland area, if I remember correctly. Yes?
Correct. The most recent funding that was issued did not include the Akron-Canton area. We got kind of left out of that. It would be going through Cleveland, it would be going through Columbus, a lot of the other major areas. So this resolution is just asking when funding is being considered again, that we can be included in the planning. We don't know the specifics of what that would be because it doesn't exist yet. We just want to express our desire to be included in expansion if it's coming.
And I would like to just throw support behind that because someone who got trapped in Charlotte over the weekend because of everything going on, weather and crowd strike issue. Amtrak was one of the few services that was least affected. And if we had the route going through the area here, that would have been an alternate way for some of us to get back to the area. Just wanted to throw that little 2 cents in.
That's a great point. Thank you. Okay, if there are no other comments or questions on this, we will leave this at second reading. And we do not have anything else before us this evening. Is there anything else for public service? All right, hearing none, I close committee.
All right, thank you very much. Item 11, next up, we have reports of special committees. I have none. Any additional items for council operations? All right. Item 12, announcements. We have none this evening. Any announcements, administration?
If I can talk, I just want to thank Bert for coming tonight, and thank you for all the years of service. I was raised in Akron, but I lived off of Eastwood, and my father actually came to you, probably was 60-some years ago. I don't know how many years you've been in business. But we want to thank you for all the stuff that you've done for the city and paying your taxes. It's always helped, that's for sure, but you will be missed. I just want to say that. Thank you.
Can I just say one other thing? I always have to say something. There's many ships that sail the seven seas. There's many ships that sail the Great Lakes. But the greatest ship of all was the friendship. And all the friendships that we got from people, city of Tallmadge, and that appreciate it to no end. Thank you all again very much. And your families. Yes. Thank you. Thanks, Ted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And lastly, adjournment. I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Clerk, please call the roll.
Jessica Epstein,
Yes.
Mary Gutman.
Yes.
Donald Pavlik.
Yes.
Ed Roy.
Yes.
Nick Rosino.
Yes.
Jonathan Bowles.
Yes. All right, we are adjourned at 8:35 PM. Thank you.